right. Folks, it is officially 6:05. We know we are going to have lots of people still arriving, which is why we are recording this evening. And so we'll make sure everyone can get all of the information. But I do also want to start so we can be really timely tonight. Mr. Harper, would you go to the next slide? Thank you so much. So Argonaut family, if you could keep your microphone on mute to limit background noise. At the very end, we'll all unmute and do one big holler together at the end. But for the presentation, we are recording it to make sure other folks are able to view, and so want to make sure there's as little background noise as possible. So if you could just all double check at this point that you are muted. I know it's hard for Ms. House to go through and do that for each person. So that would be great. You are welcome to have your video feature on or off, or you can switch it back and forth. No problem either way. I already mentioned the session's being recorded. Students and parents are welcome to listen. We think it will be really helpful information for both. So if your student is nearby, grab them. If your parent is nearby, grab them as well. The chat feature is available for questions. We do ask that we limit it to questions and answers so that we can keep it really a helpful space. So we'll use that chat feature and we will address your questions as we go. Pretty much the whole staff team is on tonight, which is great. And so they'll be able to address questions even while we're presenting. And then just note that if and when we're able to transition to a hybrid model and have some in-person instruction, we'll actually host another information night at that point, because obviously there'll be a lot of questions about what in-person instruction and hybrid instruction looks like. So we're planning to focus tonight on the 100% virtual model. And then if we transition to hybrid, we'll just have another one of these nights and we can focus on that. So hopefully that sounds okay. I am just so energized to see you all. I've been in Zoom meetings all day and I wasn't sure how I would be feeling tonight, and all I needed was to see a couple faces we haven't seen in a while, and it feels so good. So thank you for coming this evening. So glad to have you, and I hope you find this informative and helpful, and we'll get started. So our agenda, I think, is the next slide. Our agenda for the night, first of all, you can see I wish we were here in the gym. Mr. Hughes is actually upstairs in the gym with some of our athletes. Our social distancing and practicing tonight according to IHSAA guidelines, but I wish we were all there. We have some introductions and some updates for you to start the night with. And then the bulk of our evening will be Virtual Learning 101 and some of the tools that you need and information that you need in order to be successful with virtual learning. I have to do a quick plug about the lunch application because we do need to do that even though we're still in a virtual setting. We'll talk about key upcoming dates, and then we'll end with any questions that we have not been able to answer along the way. Okay, so the first thing, this is a very exciting way to start the night. So for my returning Argonauts, these smiling faces are your new teachers, plus you see some familiar faces on there who were part of the Zoom with me. We have brought on 8 new educators to join us to round out our school as we grow to being all grades 9, 10, 11, and 12. And Mr. Harper, if you would just click one at a time, I've got some names that will pop up. We've got Mrs. Ratliff in the top left corner there. She'll be joining the math team. And she actually taught at Heron quite a few years ago when I was a teacher there. Moved to Florida, has been teaching at Greenwood, and now has decided to come back and teach with the network and is going to teach with us at Riverside. And then we have Mr. Mann, who is a new history teacher joining our team. Next to him, we have Mr. Lawson. He'll be our senior English teacher. So for any of the seniors on who are going to be taking English 12, Mr. Lawson will be our senior English teacher. Then we have Mr. Moore. Mr. Moore and his family and their new baby just moved here from Maryland, and he'll be teaching history with us. We also have Mr. Norton, also moved from the East Coast, I believe, maybe actually also from Maryland, now that I say that. And he'll be joining the math team as well. So we have Mr. Norton. And then we have Dr. Cruz is next up, and she'll be joining the science department. She's a microbiologist, and she'll be teaching AP, pre-AP, and regular level, standard level biology. So we're very glad to have her on the team. Next to Mr. Harper, we have Miss Mason, who will be joining our special ed team. Again, I worked with her back at Heron. She was a special ed teacher there, has been living in Scotland with her husband, and as they transitioned back to the state, she also decided to return to our network, but opted to teach with us here at Riverside. So great to have her. The other folks on there should be familiar to you. We were just laughing at one of Mr. Harper's jokes, honestly, is what those smiles were about. But I wanted to introduce to all of our families our new teachers. So if you see them on your schedule in a couple weeks, you'll know who they are. So that's that. And then I have another super big announcement that I think some of you have managed to hear throughout the summer. But if you go to the next slide, Mr. Harper, we are so excited. Miss Bowen has accepted our offer to have her join the Dean team. So she'll still be teaching part-time English, but Miss Bowen is going to also be one of our deans of students alongside Mr. Davis Johnson. Miss Bowen, you want to just do your introduction now and talk about this new role?
Hi guys, what's up? I miss you. How you doing? It's Miss Bowen. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, hi. I'm really excited to be with you guys. Hey, Miss Patterson, how you doing? We're gonna have a great year, and I miss you guys so much. I miss your faces. You guys already have an awesome leadership team. I don't think you guys really understand the gravity of how much Mr. Harper, Mrs. Dorsey, and Mr. Davis Johnson do just behind the scenes. And I'm just really blessed to be able to join the team, to be able to support you guys. We're going to be doing a lot of work this year in continuation with learning who we are, empowering ourselves, learning our identities, how to be successful, how to institute change, and just be our best selves. So, you know, we're gonna do some great things, and I'm excited. All right, I'm done.
We're super excited, Miss Bowen. We are always love working with you. We're proud to have you in this role, and it's a fun announcement for us. All right, so then these aren't really announcements, but just to remind all of our families, you can go to the next slide, Mr. Harper. Yep. So Mr. Harper's team, the assistant head of school team, includes Miss Bowen. Mr. Davis Johnson joined us in January, and I know not all families have had a chance to meet Mr. Davis Johnson. So Mr. Davis Johnson, would you say hi and do a quick introduction also?
Hey, how you all doing? I'm Bryson Davis Johnson. Like Mrs. Dorsey said, I joined the team midway through the school year. Before that, I was a teacher and a coach at Perry Meridian High School. Before that, I coached men's basketball at UIndy. And before that, I was a teacher in my hometown in Champaign, Illinois. Really looking forward to this upcoming year, just following the lead of our exec team. And really, my biggest thing is that I want to support you academically, and we also really want to support your goals and dreams after graduation. So that's going to be the big thing that we're pushing you towards as we move back into the school year.
Love that. Appreciate this team very much. So that's and then you guys know Mr. Harper and me, of course, so we don't need to reintroduce ourselves to you. But you also have your counseling team, so if you go to that next slide. We have Mr. Koshin and Ms. Butler back. Ms. Butler, why don't you say hi first?
Hi, guys. Oh, I miss you all so much. It's so good to see you all. Yeah, we really miss you, and we're always here. We're only a Zoom call away. So I look forward to just supporting you through this weird time and getting through it together. And yeah, we're going to do it.
That's great. And then Mr. Koshin can introduce himself, and he also is going to share a little bit about scheduling and how that process will work as you think about your schedule for the fall.
Yeah, hey everyone. So good to see all of you and your families. We miss you so much. I've been working here in my office, basically alone in our building for the last 3 months, trying to get ready for you guys in whatever format we have. So it's so good to see your faces. And all of our stuff is here. So of course, reach out to us at any time for any reason. Let's talk scheduling. So Mr. Harper, will you go to the next slide? All right, so we are knee deep in scheduling right now. This is gonna be really similar to previous years, but some of it's gonna be a little bit different. So either Ms. Butler or I met with all of you in the spring. We talked through your credits, we talked through your course requests. Those have been updated based on a couple of things. So on your final grades, right, if you didn't pass any of your classes, your schedule might have changed because of that. And then also if you took any summer academy classes to regain credits or to get ahead, your schedule might have changed because of that. So we are now building out what your schedules will look like for next year. Even though we're going to start virtual, we are still committed to giving you the high quality educational experience that you all have come to know and love and deserve. And all of those classes that we talked about, except for just a handful, will still be able to happen virtually. One note is that just a couple of weeks ago, the IDOE released to all schools in the state of Indiana that juniors will be taking iStep in the spring. So that's just a note for rising juniors. Since you didn't actually complete it, no school completed it this past spring. So because of that, we have created a new class called College and Career Readiness. This is going to be a joint math English class to support you in iStep, but also college career readiness, SAT prep, those type of things. So if you see that on your schedule, that's what that's all about. August 17th is our first day of school. A student's schedule will be ready a few days before that, and you'll also be able to see it live in PowerSchool. We're not quite to that point yet, but we're getting really close. Any questions or concerns you can address to me or to Ms. Butler. Additionally, you can just email guidance and hit up both of us, and whoever has the answer will respond. There will be some classes, if there are enough kids, that will be fully virtual classes. So students that have opted to stay virtual will be in virtual sections. So if we were to go back hybrid, they would remain in that section. So if you see that on your schedule, that's what that means. And then we will have a drop add period like normal that will run the first week of school. So it will run all the way until 11:59 p.m. on that Friday, August 21st. We will send out a Google form with add drop requests. And just know that some classes, like AP classes that you need for graduation, will need parent approval prior to making that change in order to add or drop a class. So be aware that you might be getting emails from us and that we'll need that approval before moving forward. So I know that that's a lot, and I also know that there's still probably a million questions. So again, feel free to reach out to us either in the chat here or via email over the next few days.
Thanks, that's super helpful. We appreciate that. Just a couple more folks for you to remember are on our team. Mr. Hughes, the athletic director, you actually hear from him in just a minute. He'll talk about athletics. Dr. Anderson, I think she's on tonight. Do you want to say hi, Dr. Anderson? Thought I saw her earlier, but maybe not. Interrupt me if you are on, Dr. Anderson. She's our director. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say hello to everyone. So glad to see your faces. Looking forward to working with everyone this year.
Great. And then Miss Young, I know most of you know Miss Young as well, and she'll wrap up our evening tonight and talk about how we still have a few spots left if you know folks who are looking for a model like ours and want a really strong virtual option to start the year. Ms. Young will talk about that at the very end of our night tonight. But Mr. Hughes, you're up, and we'll go to the next slide. Mr. Harper and Mr. Hughes can tell us a little bit about athletics.
Hey, everybody. We are raring to go here. I know things are changing on a daily basis, but the way we're at right now, as far as our sports goes with volleyball and cross country, we are in full practice mode. This is the first week of full practice mode. They've basically been in conditioning since then. If you are planning to play, please get in touch with the coaches or me and let us know what's going on. Right now, we've got volleyball going on behind us. They need players. They need players bad. So if you have any desire to play, please get in contact with us so that we can get you in here and ready to go for practices. We do plan on still having a soccer team. We do need a coach, though. I'm trying to find a coach. And as soon as we find that coach, then we'll send out messages to everyone as far as when those practices start. Basketball teams, please be patient with us, okay? We have to disinfect and all that stuff too, but we'll get the basketball teams in here as soon as we safely can, okay? So welcome back, Argonauts. Enjoy your year.
Thanks, Mr. Hughes. Just note, those of you that saw the news last week, the Marion County Health Department for about 6 hours, shut down contact sports in Indianapolis and then backtracked that announcement. And we are in frequent contact with the health department through the mayor's office, and we're aware of that whole process unfolding as well. And so we are currently following IHSAA's guidelines, but certainly will follow all of the recommendations of the health department as well. All right, so
Mrs. Dorsey,
yes.
there was a question about physicals, and let me just remind everybody that if you had a physical last year, the IHSA says that physical is good again this year. It's the only time that that'll happen. So your physicals are still good.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes. Yep. Okay, so this is probably the information that your families were waiting for. I want to give you an overview of what virtual learning will look like. And I just want to preface this by saying we have learned some great lessons, both last spring when we had to transition super quickly to virtual learning, and then also over Summer Academy, where we changed our model quite a bit and had a lot of success. And so heading into virtual learning this semester and this quarter, we anticipate a really robust offering with a lot of lessons learned, even though we actually feel pretty good about what we've offered so far too. So Mr. Harper, if you want to go to the next slide. Just to note that a couple of the kind of things we've already released, but just a reminder, Monday, August 17th will be our first day of school, 9 a.m. start, and that is 100% virtual. You do not need to worry about whether you selected a hybrid or a virtual option at this point, or which hybrid cohort you would be in if we transition to hybrid. The entire school is 100% virtual, and everyone will have access to the same schedule. We are still planning to reevaluate at Labor Day. I know IPS has announced that they are staying virtual until October. We track daily the Marion County Health Department local COVID data and the CDC guidelines and any other guidance we can find. And so we are still planning to reevaluate at Labor Day, and at that point either plan a transition to a hybrid model, or continue our fully virtual model. If we do decide to transition to hybrid, there would be a lead up time. We wouldn't do it like overnight. We would need time to prepare the building and to prepare our teachers and students for the hybrid model. So there would be a week or two lead up time if we do decide to transition to hybrid. And then this came up in the question earlier. Families will still have access to 100% virtual learning even if we do transition to hybrid. And so many families have indicated they want that all semester, even if we do offer a hybrid option, and more families may decide they want that if we transition. I saw a couple questions come up about why are we not considering a transition back to full-time in-person right away? And for those of you, if anyone else is tracking the local Marion County data, we're having a problem in Indianapolis right now getting COVID under control. And so for us, and social distancing and being able to actually put in place the guidelines that are recommended to keep both our students, but also our faculty and staff and all of your families safe, we need less students in each classroom in order to be able to do that if we are able to transition. So hybrid would be our very next step. And then the transition to 100% in person would be if we continue to see really good data. And Lucy asked such a good question. I love it. What is our goal for infectivity rate as we're shooting to move toward hybrid? I would say we have not released a goal, but I know IPS has said they want 5% for at least 2 weeks before they would consider it. The Marion County Health Department has said a couple different numbers before they would recommend a school like ours considering a transition. So we don't have a number we've set officially, but I will say those are some of the numbers that are part of the conversation right now. Great. All right, next slide. So we also are changing up our model from the spring. So in the spring, with such a quick transition, we did not do what's called synchronous instruction or kind of real-time live instruction. And we have, if those of you are not muted, go ahead and mute yourself. There you go. We have learned a lot, both in national best practice and research, but honestly, just also through our own experimenting in Summer Academy, that live instruction is actually very possible to do successfully while in virtual learning, and it gives us so much more bang for our buck. So we're going to do a daily schedule that is a bit of a blend. And so at 9 a.m., students will sign into their advisory where they will receive, we'll talk about it in just a minute actually, so I won't go into it now. And then if you can see, there are always 15-minute breaks between any Zoom session or any live class. And most classes won't be live or won't have Zoom instruction the entire 75 minutes. So that might actually be a longer break. It might be up to a half an hour break between classes. And then there's also a full hour for lunch. So we are desperately trying to avoid Zoom fatigue, which many of us have experienced in our professional lives over the last few months for our students, but also wanting the benefit of being able to interact with their classmates and their teacher. So for us, a 75-minute class with about 60 minutes of that being live instruction or support or breakout rooms or work time for students that is supervised and monitored by the teacher. About 60 of those 75 minutes being that, with some really good breaks throughout the day is what we find to be the best possible plan. We also are going to follow the same weekly schedule that we will keep if we transition to hybrid, so that we can just make that smooth transition and we don't have to reset our weekly calendar. So Mondays will be A days. Students will follow this schedule with their A classes. Tuesdays will be B days. Students will follow this schedule with their B day classes. On Wednesdays, students will not have to log into any Zoom classes for attendance on Wednesdays, but they will have available teacher office hours, both drop-in office hours like we had in the spring, but we're going to add about 2 hours each teacher will offer of one-on-one appointment meetings on Wednesdays in order to meet with students either one-on-one or in really small groups if students want to meet in really small groups. We think that will add a lot to the experience of our spring office hours that our teachers offered. And then Thursday will be another A day and Friday another B day. So that's the weekly and daily schedule. You see a note there at the bottom that students do not need to attend their seminar unless they are scheduled for a resource seminar, in which case, in addition to seminar time, they'll also get a lot of support toward their goals on their IEP during that resource seminar as well. So we're excited about this. I know our teachers are super excited to try to replicate some of the classroom dynamics that we get when we're in person in Zoom. And I'll say we've been experimenting with just about every Zoom tool that we can through our own professional development meetings this week. So we'll have some tricks to show our students when we get live another week from now. So that's kind of the overview. On our next slide, there'll be some repeat information. I mentioned some of this. Let me just make sure I got it all. Students, I will say this. You have to sign in. You have to be present at every class we're taking attendance. And by state mandate, we have to report attendance in the exact same way that we do for in-person learning every class period. So students will have to be present in their Zoom session at the start of class for attendance. Teachers will have bell works and go over the agenda. And then, like I mentioned, for a 75-minute class, a teacher will provide some form of instruction or discussion or support or supervision for at least 60 of those minutes. There might be some time where the teacher has the students sign off and just complete independent work. But of the 75 minutes, about 60 minutes will be live supervised with the teacher. Okay. And then you saw this, Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. We're going to start the day with a 15-minute advisory, in part just to make sure those connections stay really strong. Advisories stay together for all 4 years in an ideal schedule, and so we don't want to lose those connections. But also, we anticipate having lots of announcements and culture building, things that we just need to continue to move forward with as a school, and so we anticipate advisory being the place for that. And then just a note as we look ahead, if we do transition to hybrid, advisory will continue to be the first period of the day and also the morning supervision room for students so that we don't have to congregate in a really large space and we can actually social distance. So in wanting to keep our virtual schedule the same as our hybrid schedule should we transition, we decided to keep advisory as the first class of the day, and students will need to sign in for that and get attendance, have their attendance taken as well. All right. Okay, so then another transition for us as we've been researching and have learned our lesson. Our teachers have used Haiku in the past for their classroom home pages. We are transitioning to fully Google Classroom. And this offers us a lot more functionality as a school. It offers a lot more integration. So there will be more things that are embedded on the Google Classroom page rather than having to find multiple different locations. And for your teachers, like I mentioned, there'll just be much more functionality. Students, if you aren't listening, listen now. I have to tell you this. You have to use your Riverside High School email address in order to join your teacher's classroom, Google Classrooms. And really, you should use it every day, all day at this point for virtual learning, but your riversidehighschool.org email address will be essential to access Google Classroom. And then parents, you will also be invited to join each of your students' Google Classroom classes. You'll get automated emails providing you, and actually I'll show you in just a moment. It's very easy to do so. Literally, you just accept an invitation and then you are part of the class as well. But that way you can track as much as you want to, really, what the assignments are, the agendas, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a pretty cool feature that Haiku did not offer, and we're glad for that. So on the next slide, you can see an example, actually. I had one of the physics teachers in our network invite me to his Google Classroom, just so you could see. This is an email I got, and literally all I would have to do is click join. And I don't need an account. I don't need a special email. As a parent or a guardian, whatever emails you have in PowerSchool, all of those emails will get invitations to join your students' Google Classroom classes. So you just want to make sure that you have provided as many different emails to PowerSchool that you want us to invite into these classes. So if there's an aunt or a relative or someone that's also going to be supporting with virtual learning, they should also have their email in PowerSchool as one of your emergency contacts so that we can make sure they are invited to Google Classroom as well. Okay, this is just another screenshot of Mr. Hauser's Google Classroom for physics. I just wanted you to see how streamlined it was. It's very simple. It's not busy. And for us, that also, we don't want it to be something that's challenging for students to navigate or for families. And so on the next slide, you can see it as well. It's just very straightforward. He used Edpuzzle, which a lot of our teachers used as well, and I'll mention in just a moment. And this was his virtual learning agenda for last spring, just a series of links for his students to reference. And so just wanted you to see how streamlined Google Classroom is. Okay. We will be utilizing Zoom just like we are right now. Zoom has really stepped up in the education world and has offered schools a lot of functionality in a season, really in the crisis that we find ourselves in. So we're very thankful to that, and it is actually working pretty well. As we learn all the things we can do with Zoom, we're excited for our students to utilize it too. As I mentioned, each class will have a Zoom link and students will sign in for attendance. Okay, so I don't think I need to go over much of that. Our teachers do plan to still use Edpuzzle. Many teachers used it in the spring, and just wanted you to note that, or those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's where a teacher posts a learning video. So it might be something that they have created, or it might be a video that they have found online that covers the content that is being taught in class at that time. And then they can insert into the video comprehension questions that trigger the student to pause and really process what they just watched before they're able to move on. And then a teacher can monitor student progress. They can monitor how long students spent on the videos, the student responses, etc. So we'll continue to use Edpuzzle. We are loving it and actually are using it for our new student orientation because it is a really functional tool, and we find that it kind of allows a little bit of the best of both worlds. So we'll keep using Edpuzzle. And this is a screenshot of Mr. Kazaya's, some of you did this Edpuzzle. This was his from the spring. It was a question about Caesar's dictatorship in Latin class. And this was a moment in the video that was paused, and he asked the students a comprehension question there on the side. They would type it in, hit submit, and then he would be able to see the answers that were submitted. So just wanted you all to see a screenshot of that. Okay, and then I saw a question. I'm not keeping up with the questions on the side. I know the team is doing a great job attempting to get to them, but I did see a question, what about PowerSchool? We are very much still keeping PowerSchool as our student management system and as the place for parents to track grades in real time, attendance, etc. So I'm gonna let Mr. Harper just remind you of how important it is to frequently log into PowerSchool to track those things.
Hi families, hi students who are on, miss you terribly. Can't wait to drop into your Zoom rooms, and hopefully we get back in the school soon. PowerSchool, as Mrs. Dorsey said, is still critical to our functionality virtually at Riverside High School. You still have an online portal that you go to, heron.powerschool.com. Use your same username and password from last year. If you've forgotten your username and password, please email me and I can send that to you. But this is a space where you will still be able to check your child's grades, history, attendance, school bulletins. You'll still also be able to click on the grades themselves to see a list of specific assignments and student performance on specific assignments. So this is an example of what you have been seeing over the past few years with your student. We really encourage you, particularly in this virtual model, to log in at least every day to check real-time updates for your students' grades. There's also a really critical piece too about an update for virtual learning. So last spring, we made the decision to have students receive a letter grade of a D from a 60 to 69, and we are still going to have that as our policy for virtual learning. However, students who are on track for academic honors diploma cannot have Ds. They still need to meet the academic honors requirements. Students, however, instead of 2 late passes, will have 3 late passes per quarter, except in AP classes where instead of having none, they will have 1 missing or late pass for the regular school year. So as you see here, you can also check your students' attendance. Mrs. Dorsey hit on this a moment ago, but our attendance procedures are going to be updated a little bit this virtual learning because of students being at home. So I'm going to walk through this with you just to give you an idea of what attendance looks like for this e-learning period. So at the beginning of every class period, students have a grace period of 5 minutes to log into their teacher's Zoom rooms, and that's going to constitute them being present. So anywhere from 0 to 5 minutes, students are present. If students arrive after 5 minutes when the class has begun, they are considered an unexcused tardy. If they arrive 20 minutes after the start of class, or they arrive to the Zoom room but aren't visible or verbal or chatting, and we just have no way of communicating with them in the Zoom room, they're considered absent. Just a real tiny caveat or aside here, we encourage all students to have their videos on because we believe that the experience is much more authentic and meaningful for students and teachers if we get to see the students and students get to see the teachers. But we understand that there are circumstances in which that may not be possible, but that's where we are now, is we would like for videos to be on when students are in their Zoom rooms. Let's say that your son or daughter has a dentist appointment or otherwise isn't able to be at school like they normally would. You would still just call us or email attendance@riversidehighschool.org. Instead of log entries for tardiness, if we notice that your son or daughter is absent frequently or has excessive unexcused tardiness, we will reach out to you as we normally would to talk about how we can support your child in being successful in our virtual world. Still some of the same functionality as you see here. You can check your balance and any fees that you may owe on PowerSchool, and utilize kpaymentcenter.com to be able to pay that as well. We want to do a quick transition now to logs. So we have 7 universal behavior policies, as you know, families, but really only 4 of them are applicable for our virtual world. So showing respect for people, property, and the learning process, remaining awake, alert, and engaged in class, using responsible language, and coming to class on time to learn. We will still be reaching out to you about inappropriate language and inappropriate behavior that happens in Zoom. We'll be giving you a call, as I had said, if we notice that your son or daughter is tardy or has excessive absences during the day for e-learning. Some of you may not know that we have an app for PowerSchool, which is so great because we have our phones on us at all times. The app is really ideal if you have your phone and want to quickly check some of the items that we had mentioned. You'll need the district code PFCL, so you want to write that down, but you can also review the video if you didn't quite catch it. And really importantly, you can set up reminders or notifications as often as you'd like. So if you want to get an update from PowerSchool every time your child's grade changes, then you can set that up. If you want a bi-weekly report on your students' grades, you can set that up as well. So we encourage you to, in the app, open up your settings and review the types of notifications you can receive from PowerSchool automatically for a variety of different updates from PowerSchool.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Harper. One thing just to note about attendance, we think we're going to utilize an automatic notification feature that PowerSchool has, where it will notify families each period that a student is either tardy or absent. So it's really important that if you know your student can't log in that day, to notify us ahead of time so we can code it as excused. Otherwise, you'll get those automatic notifications. We think those are still important because families might be working, their student might be at home, and there might be a reason that the student doesn't log in, and we want parents to be aware of that so that we can make sure to troubleshoot as we need to. Okay, so that's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. On Wednesdays, as I mentioned at the beginning, we have an office hour day and a work day for students. There will not be new assignments posted for Wednesdays. Whatever homework teachers give on Monday and Tuesdays, students can just use Wednesdays to do that work. So students will not have to log in and find new assignments on Wednesdays. It'll just be a work day for the assignments that were already given, just like how you would normally have homework assignments. In addition, teachers will have both an hour of drop-in office hours and then also one-on-one appointments available. And we'll utilize Sign Up Genius, which most of our families have used for parent-teacher conferences. It's really easy, and teachers will put all of their one-on-one appointment times available for the next quarter, and then students can sign up for those. So it's still a work day. I will say that we're counting it for attendance purposes, and we expect students to have work to do, but it will just be a different rhythm on Wednesdays. Okay. And then Ms. Bowen and Mr. Davis Johnson. So just a little backstory. Mr. Davis Johnson was the dean for all of ICS, all Heron and Riverside students for Summer Academy, which means he really worked with a lot of students and families through just about every issue you can imagine to being successful in summer school. Ms. Bowen was one of our summer school teachers and helped just troubleshoot that from that angle as well. So as they transition to being the deans, I'm really excited for them to have this great experience in troubleshooting virtual learning issues with students, and they're going to just talk about some of the keys for success.
All right, awesome. So there are a few things that we want to talk to you guys about that you should make a priority for yourselves to do as we transition into this new school year. We know that it's been summertime, things have been a little weird in terms of like sleep schedules and sleep patterns, but it's really, really important for you guys to get your rest before starting school. So put the games down, the Xboxes and PS4s, and take some time to really get those full 7 to 8 hours of sleep so that you are able to be your best selves the next day. Please make sure that you eat breakfast if you can, and we have, Katie, I think you can chime in about options for providing meals for families as well. We will be providing those throughout the year, but it's really important that to eat, to drink before you start your day to get your brain going. Please make sure that you have your device that you're going to be using for virtual learning with you, as well as whatever you're using to charge it with. And we'll talk a little bit more about technology later if there's some questions about how to access it or if you need support with getting technology for your student. Materials are super important to have with you as well. That means paper, pencils, if you have books that are needed, which I'm sure teachers will reach out to you about if you need those. And we're trying our best to do those in a virtual PDF format. But please make sure you have all your materials with you. And then the last thing is as best to the best ability, try not to take breaks outside of the 15-minute slots and the hour lunch that we have already input in the schedule for you. Why, Ms. Bowen? Because those 60 to 75 minutes of class time are imperative for you to be sitting down and paying attention to. If you get up and go get a snack from the cabinet, you might miss something really important that Miss Acosta is trying to teach you on that day. So try your best to streamline your breaks so that it is within those allotted times. And then last but not least is make sure that you ask questions. We're all in this weird phase of trying to get used to virtual learning. And you guys know just inevitably there are some things that your teachers are not going to see as well as we could if you were sitting in a chair and we could see you physically, if you might have a question or if you have a concern. So it's very important for you to raise your hand or ask questions in whatever format your teacher permits you to. Advocate for yourself so that you can get help when it's needed. Our job is literally to help you. So please step up to the plate as sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and ask questions.
Ms. Bowen touched on something super important. I just want to piggyback on having your materials. Taking notes is going to be really, really huge as you navigate these classes. There's so much information on the internet, and let's just be honest, the easiest thing to do is just copy and paste. We are not telling you to not be resourceful, but if you take notes on the things that you're learning, the things that you see on the internet, it's already in your own words and the work's already done. So I think that's something that can help you a ton. If you need any additional support, just scheduling. I know that a lot of you have jobs. And one of my big roles in Summer Academy was making sure your employers worked around what's most important, which is school. We want you to make your money, but you got to get your education too. And we are here to help with that. Just make sure you're asking questions like she said, utilizing email, being respectful and professional in your emails, and any other information or help that you need, we're here for you.
Yeah, and I think that please understand that we care about you, and we know that people have lots of things that are going on in your families and your personal lives. So if there's a struggle that you're having, if there's something that's going on that might be hindering you from getting the best out of your virtual learning experience, please reach out to us. We are people just like you, and we want to make this experience as good for you as possible. So I see some people in the comments are like, what if I work, or what if I have an issue? That's the time for you to reach out and ask us so that we can come up with a plan together. We have those resources available to you to help you.
Thank you. And that's the dream team right there. Students, you're very lucky to have them in your corner, and they will help you work through whatever it is. This is not an easy transition for any of us, but I'll tell you what, they are committed to figuring out whatever problem it is that comes your way. So we'll help. All right. Next up, just a quick note. This is from one of our dances, so you can find yourself in that. Love this picture so much. We are also planning to try some new things that we didn't try in the spring in terms of just staying connected, student connection. So Mr. Harper, Ms. Bowen, Mr. Johnson, the counselors, your club sponsors, we are all brainstorming, and students, we really need your help. What do you want to try to pull off, either in a virtual or a very socially distanced way, while we are in this virtual setting? I'll tell you, the first thing we have on the deck is we're looking at, can I say the date? Are we like firm enough on our Poetry Slam date?
We are.
August 27th, we're looking at a Poetry Slam spoken word celebration where students via Zoom can share their art with us. And so we're hoping to utilize that as one of our first student connections and culture experiences for us. We want to have more of these as we go.
If you all want to be a part of the Poetry Slam, just shoot me or Miss Bowen an email, and we will get you information as we start building this thing out. Looking forward to it.
Love that. All right, and then just thinking about day one. So that's kind of the structure, big picture. But now if you think about Monday, August 17th, in the few days leading up, literally it might be like the 14th, 15th, or 16th, students and their guardians will receive kind of the official schedule email, and it will have your student's official schedule. It's the same schedule that if we were having scheduled pickup day in person, it's kind of like that, where you get your official schedule, and it will also have information about how to find the links for each of your students' Zoom classes for that first day of school. You will get the email invitations to join Google Classroom, but honestly, the only thing you have to do on that first day of school that's a must is to find that Zoom link to log into your advisory at 9 a.m. and then find the Zoom link for your A1 class at 9:30 a.m., etc., and just follow the schedule. And we will send that out as clearly and with as much importance as we can, so that you know this is your schedule and this is how you find that 9 a.m. link for your Zoom. Okay. All right, so that is it for Zoom 101. I know Ms. House has been keeping track of questions, and we've gotten to some of them, but I think quite a few of them are related to that. But so far we're doing great. We only have a little bit left. I just wanted to note that even though whether or not they have to pay for food, it's also about textbook fees, technology rental, and it's about our reimbursement from the state for the different services that we provide your student and for the funding that we receive as a school. And so, especially in this year, what I'm worried about is families saying, well, I'll just do the lunch application whenever we go back to school, when my student starts eating lunch again. Well, if for some reason that's after September 28th, your student will have already defaulted to being a full pay student. The change to free or reduced might not be retroactive to the beginning of the year and might have already impacted our school's funding formula, but also your students' fees, especially related to technology or textbook. So please still do that application. We're not getting into the weeds in this presentation of how to do it, because it's just, you just follow a link and you complete the application online, and that will come both in email to you and also in the actual mail. We're going to put the directions for the lunch application in the mail, so that if you miss it in your email, you can get the envelope and it can remind you to do that. Students who qualify for free or reduced lunch pay zero technology rental fees. There still is a technology user fee that's associated, that's $20, that is reduced. But to rent a computer from us, this is kind of the main reason to do it. It's $0 to rent a computer or borrow one of our computers, and we just got a whole bunch of nice new ones if your student qualifies for free reduced lunch. So please take this important step to make sure we can fully support and are fully funded to support your student. All right, so that's that. And then for this last step here, there are some key upcoming dates. The first one, I believe, is related to technology. There's been some great questions. All right, so hopefully you have returned your device from 2019-20, from last school year. If you got a device this summer, we actually still want that one back. Our tech team wants to make sure that the devices are as functional as possible heading into this year. So they want to service and reset every single device and issue you a new one, a new to you one. It might be brand new, depends, heading into this coming school year. So if you have not yet returned your device, just email helpdesk@riversidehighschool.org to set up a time to return your device. And then I think actually tomorrow, the form will come out. It's a Google form where all families can indicate whether they are going to use their own device, the student will use their own device, or rent one from us. And so it will just be a technology request form. Similar to free reduced lunch application, we want every family to complete the form, because it also has our technology user agreement in it for any student that's just going to use technology on campus or use internet on campus. So every student, every family, for each student, submits the technology form and either indicates, yep, we're going to use our own device, a laptop or a tablet with a keyboard, or we'd like to pick one up from the school. And then we have 2 pickup times for you, either Thursday, August 13th from 1 to 6, or Friday, August 14th from 9 to 1. or if neither of those times work, you can email helpdesk@riversidehighschool.org, and then schedule time to pick up a device. Okay, so I know that's really important to families to get that in their hands. Mark those dates on your calendar. So that's for technology. If there's a class that needs your student to have a textbook pickup day will be Wednesday, August 26th. And notice this is about 10 days after school starts. That's to accommodate drop add, so that if your student, for example, starts in regular US history and they decide they want to move up to AP US history, we don't want them to have the wrong textbook. So the textbook pickup day will be after drop add ends, Wednesday the 26th from 9 to 6 here at Riverside. We'll send all this out so you have lots of reminders, but that will be where your student swings by to pick up their textbooks. Okay. And then really looking ahead, we have been on hiatus with our family support team. We honestly just kept thinking, oh, well, we'll just wait till COVID improves and then we'll meet next month. And then we'll meet next month. And then we'll meet next month. And so at this point, we are transitioning to a virtual setting for family support team. And we're also switching our time. We're going to meet in the evenings, the last Monday of every month at 7 p.m. It'll be a 1-hour Zoom meeting. Family support team was started as a way for parents and guardians to organize, to support the school and help with unmet needs. It will continue to be that as well. I'm very, very appreciative of family support team. And I also hope that many of you choose to come so that we can continue to grow that way, that we interact with our families and we can help one another best support our students. All right. We did it, 6:56. So that's all the information we have to present. Ms. House, could you do a quick run through of the questions you've been noting that we have not been able to get through? And then families, you also can add more questions to the chat. If you feel good and you feel like you've got it figured out, your student is ready, they're just gonna wait on that schedule email. And when they get that schedule email, they're gonna confirm that they know how to log into their Zoom on Monday, August 17th. You're welcome to sign out whenever you need to this evening. But for now, we'll transition to, before we do questions, Ms. Young, why don't you talk about enrollment stuff?
Okay. Hi, guys. I want to say I miss your faces. I truly do. One of the things that I want to mention over the summer, just in case anything has changed with your information, please make sure we get all updated information so that it can be in PowerSchool and that parents and students are receiving everything that they need. So please make sure if your address has changed, you have a phone number that's changed, any emergency medical contact information, that type of thing, please send me a message. And I'm gonna type it here in the chat area, but it's basically enrollment@riversidehighschool.org. Okay, that's hard to type and talk at the same time. Alrighty, so in addition to that, the other thing that I want to mention is that we still do have some seats available. So if you know of someone that's looking for a school, we are still enrolling. And I think that we have done a very good job, or at least are trying to be truly intentional about being concerning in regards to how we're doing the virtual learning. So please tell everybody about it and let them know that they can still enroll their children 9th through 12th grade now at Riverside High School. So any questions, feel free to always just reach out. Miss you guys.
All right, thank you, Ms. Young. All right, let's run through some of those questions. I know I just answered Savano's, but it was a good one, so I'll answer it for everyone. She said, will there be other office hour times besides just on Wednesdays? Teachers certainly may choose to offer additional office hours whenever they want, honestly, but the only required office hours will be on Wednesdays, since teachers will be teaching all day the other days. It's a little different than the spring where teachers had office hours every day, but they weren't doing live instruction. So that's the flip that we've made. And then I did see Amy asked about getting schedules earlier than August 15th. And as soon as they're ready, we will send them out. Historically, we just know typically scheduled pickup day is the day before school starts. And it takes every second of that time to get the master schedule right, because we are balancing classes and making sure that classes match classroom availability, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the master schedule is a work in progress that is being worked through now. if we are ready prior to the 15th, we'll send it out as soon as we can. But in years past, every year that I've ever worked at our organizations, the master schedule is ready just in time for schedule pickup day, which is just the day before school starts. What else, Ms. House?
Maya is asking, and I know it's been asked before, Mr. Koshin was going to talk about SAT and ACT.
Yeah, so a few things about this. First of all, if you are a rising senior, we would strongly encourage you to sign up for either the SAT or the ACT this fall. There are test dates. Ms. Dorsey, where are we at on a school day this fall? Is that in the works?
We currently are looking at, I know, scheduling an SAT school day for the spring. We weren't sure if College Board would work with us with such a unknown looking for this fall. So I agree, if you're a senior, you definitely should schedule an SAT test date just in the community this fall. Mr. Cushel, you just mentioned that most schools
I'm gonna run through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Schools are going test optional, but we still want to encourage you to take the SAT or ACT if you possibly can. If you are eligible for a fee waiver, we have those as well. So reach out to me. I also saw a question about an SAT prep. So that class, that college and career readiness class, is geared towards juniors. And that's mostly because we are planning on doing an SAT school day for our juniors in the spring. Coronavirus permitting. So that class will gear up towards that. Seniors, we won't have a specific class for that, but we will and can provide specific and individualized, like some SAT prep type of work. It just won't be in a classroom, like credit-bearing format. What am I forgetting about this?
I think just we will, Mr. Koshin will send out to the seniors, I know it's gone out so far, but just a reminder and a link to all of the local testing dates, as well as how to request the test waiver from him, which is all virtual. It's an easy process that he can support you in. So he'll work with you on that.
Yeah, and then two last things about that. Refer back to my newsletter I sent in June, and I can send that out, or those dates out again. And then also 2 weeks from tonight, we'll be meeting seniors and senior families to talk through a lot of the logistics of this.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Koshin. I should have put that on my important dates. Good. Lots of questions about yearbooks. We know we're going to have yearbooks available at textbook pickup. If you ordered a yearbook this past spring, I think we are. But we'll work with Ms. Allen, and if they're available during technology pickup or something, pretty much as soon as we have them in the building during all of these different pickup times, text yearbooks would be available for those as well. All right, what else, Ms. House?
Did anyone talk about uniforms?
I think it just got answered once. Students do not have to wear uniforms during virtual learning. We just want them to wear casual clothing, comfortable clothing, but certainly clothing that is covering. We don't want students in pajamas that you wouldn't normally wear out just on a casual day. So just casual clothing, comfortable, but also appropriate for a school Zoom session. One note about uniforms, if we do return to in-person instruction, you've seen this come out in a couple announcements, but because we know families are approaching retail shopping in a lot of different ways right now, we are not requiring the khaki pants or khaki shorts this year to be from school bells if we return to in-person learning. So if we return to in-person learning, we want families just to be able to get their clothes from wherever they feel comfortable going, or whatever online providers they feel comfortable purchasing from. And so the pants and the shorts do not have to have the R on them. They do have to still be the same style, plain, flat front, knee length for the shorts, and just full length for the pants. But they don't have to be from School Bells this year. Our polos have never had to be from School Bells, so they still don't have to be from School Bells. The navy sweatshirts do not have to be from School Bells, but no one else sells those like vests or hoodies or any of those, like the cardigans. So if your student still wants those, they would get those from School Bells. I will say, because students change sizes a lot, I would just wait a couple weeks until we have a better indication of how quickly we can get back to in-person instruction before you think about stocking up on uniform items. There's a question about, we mentioned this once, but is the camera preferred on during learning? It is preferred on. Our teachers don't want to teach and to avoid. They want to teach to students and build relationships and make eye contact and have students laugh with one another. We know that there are certainly situations where students can't have their video on, or might have to turn it off for a second and then turn it back on. I've had to do that, of course, with Rosie, my daughter, when I'm on a meeting, and I just quick have to flip it off when she tries to Zoom bomb meetings. And so we certainly understand that, but very much to the extent possible want students to keep their video on. And then there might be times where a teacher would say, all right, we're going to have 10 minutes of work time. Everyone be on this Google Doc doing this work, and students can flip off their camera at that point if they want, because the teacher can be monitoring their work on the doc or something. So we'll work with students in that way. But Ms. Butler's right. We want to see your smiling faces. We're desperate to see your smiling faces. So definitely want that.
Mrs. Dorsey, there was a question about suggestions for if students encounter technology issues. Like, who should they email? What should they do? Wondering if we can.
Yes, definitely. If a student is trying to log in and they get like the spinning wheel of death that won't let them get to their Zoom or whatever, just email your teacher. I'll tell you, that happened all summer, where, Ms. Bowen, did you have that happen? A student would say, I'm trying to get in, but I can't. It's fine. We are going to be reasonable and gracious. Just get in as soon as you can. If there's a technology issue with one of our devices, Help Desk can actually provide some remote service to the device. They can reset settings. So certainly if it's our device, reaching out to helpdesk@riversidehighschool.org can get you some real-time support for it. If it's a Wi-Fi issue, that I saw this question come up. Yes, we can provide Wi-Fi hotspots to families, either if you don't have any internet or if you have limited internet, where the bandwidth doesn't allow for like everyone in the household to be doing virtual learning at once, for example. So we have hotspots that we can provide so that everyone can utilize the internet that they need during the day for synchronous instruction. Similar with laptops. If you have multiple children at home, but maybe 1 or 2 laptops, we want every Riverside student to have their own laptop so that they aren't sharing. Certainly parents, you're welcome to use it in the evenings or mornings if you want to use it to check PowerSchool, to check Google Classroom. But if you don't have enough devices at home for every student, give one of your devices to another child and have a Riverside device go to your Riverside student so that everyone can do that. And Ms. Mabry asked about SATs and internships. Ms. Mabry, 2 weeks from tonight, is that right, Mr. Koshin? There will be a senior parent night with Mr. Koshin to talk about SATs, internships, all that stuff. I will say that internships are still on to the extent that there are sites willing to host our senior interns. So a lot of our nonprofit partners, all of the medical partners that we have done internship placements with in the past are not accepting placements right now because of restrictions due to COVID. But for example, we have one senior who's going to intern at a farm. I think, Ellery, are you on here? That right now, that's like the perfect internship for COVID life. You could just go be outside on a farm, you know, very far away from any other people. So we have to adjust, and we're still doing that. Some students have honestly said, never mind, I just want to take an elective because what I really wanted to do was be in a hospital, and we can't do that right now. So we're adjusting, but it is still a possibility. All right, what else?
This question about, is there a policy for kids to not be on other electronics during Zoom or on other screens on the computer?
This will mostly be managed through engagement tools that teachers are using proactively. There's only so much you can do. So a teacher can't know if a student is clicking back and forth between different tabs, and multitasking, I think, is something that we're all trying to learn how to do only when it benefits us. But teachers will be using lots of engagement tools to try to keep students fully engaged. Ms. Butler, what was the question that you were?
Oh, bus passes. Are we still giving bus passes?
Yes, we are still able to provide bus passes. Ms. Benson, so sbenson@riversidehighschool.org. A great time to pick that up would be during meal pickup on Mondays and Wednesdays from 11 to 1. A student could stop by and pick up a bus pass. Or if you need to schedule a different time, you could reach out to Ms. Benson and schedule a different time. As far as school ID, your last year's school ID should still be working for you anywhere you need a school ID, whether it's like to get a discount on the bus or something. we are planning to have our school picture taker come in the last week of September. And even if we are still virtual at that point, we'll try to schedule school pictures like one at a time where students can just come in and get their picture taken, even if we're still in a virtual setting. So we won't reprint school IDs this year until school pictures are taken. But if your student needs an ID, an incoming freshman, actually I haven't talked to Mr. Harper about that, so we'll think about that for incoming freshmen. If your student needs an ID, we definitely can print you one, even if you need one from last year. We'll just use last year's ID, and Mr. Harper can print that for you. And then for incoming freshmen, we'll have to think about that because we don't have their picture yet.
Questions about if you have a class at Heron. So first of all, more classes than ever will be housed at Riverside this year. Just as we've grown, we've been able to absorb more of those, right? So Spanish 3 will be taught at Riverside this year. We are so excited that AP 2D art will be taught at Riverside this year. So a couple of those questions, guys, we're going to be in-house. If you do have a class at Heron, when we start virtual, you will log on to the teacher Zoom just like you would for any of your Riverside classes. If we were to go back hybrid, we have built the schedule so that almost all of the classes that you would travel to at Heron either are at the beginning of the day or the end of the day. So you either start your day here and then finish your day there, or vice versa, so that you're not traveling back and forth throughout the course of the day.
The question about band or orchestra, did you mention that at all, Mr. Koshin?
I didn't see it. Band and orchestra for this next year is going to be at Heron.
Still at Heron unless, at least in the virtual setting, we've continued to talk about when we transition to in-person, do our student musicians make an ensemble or not? But for the virtual setting, want them to still be linked with all the classes at Heron.
AP Chem is a joint class that will be taught so last year they went back and forth. They did one semester at each school. Ms. Dorsey, do you know what the plan is for that?
It will just depend. It will depend if we are in an in-person model or not, and it will also depend how many of the students in that class have opted to stay 100% virtual. So if the majority of the class has opted to stay 100% virtual, then it might be different for location.
And then AP Stats, Heron, and French 3, Heron.
Yep.
There's a question about whether classes will have IP work and in-class work, and I want to say that there will be both.
There will be, yeah. So we anticipate teachers assigning homework, but that's also why Wednesdays are going to be so valuable for students. They're not going to assign more homework than usual. They will assign just a pretty standard amount of homework. Students will still have their seminar time. They won't have to log in and have anyone watch them doing seminar, but they will still have that block of time built into their schedule, as well as Wednesday work days. So in order to make sure we are still adequately preparing our students for a college prep, at a college prep high school and for opportunities after high school, we have to make progress through pretty rigorous classes that we offer. So we have to utilize homework for that, but we aren't going to increase homework because we're in a virtual setting. And no, Jeremy, they do not have to log in for seminar, except our resource teachers do want to see their students in resource seminar because they really assist and help students with their homework and with reaching their IEP goals in that resource seminar time. It will be different for each student based on their IEP, what resource seminar looks like, whether it is getting support on specific classes and goals or something like that. Questions about benchmarks and finals. We are still planning to have benchmarks and finals at this point because we're planning to transition back to a hybrid model. If we do so, we'll probably reduce and only focus on benchmarks and finals in our core classes, English and math, maybe also science and social studies. If we continue in a virtual model, we will have to make a decision about whether or not we do a benchmark and a final in a virtual model or not.
Question about college tours. This upcoming semester, we will not do any in-person college tours, and colleges are not doing any in-person tours really for large groups. If you wanted to go individually and do that, you could. Second semester, we'll reevaluate based on current health data. We will still have virtual college rep visits for juniors and seniors, so more information about that will come out shortly.
All right, there's a question about piano. I think it was from KO. Candrin had it. Unfortunately, piano is about the one elective that we cannot figure out how to do virtually, because we have a great piano lab here with pianos in the room, and there's very limited options for that virtually. So we are going to put a pause on piano until at least second semester. Those students will just get put into their backup electives that they selected. All right. Any staff members, are you sitting on other questions that we have not yet answered?
If there are sports questions, I'd say email Mr. Hughes. I've had a couple of questions about sports that I've written down here, but all of those I think would be best directed to rhughes@riversidehighschool.org.
Oh, Ms. House, Zoom is not being good to you right now.
Did I come back yet?
Love that.
Am I still frozen?
You were doing something. But you know what? We just got to keep it real, because this is how it's going to be. Man, it just is how it is. So we can handle it. AP art teacher. Actually, this is another. We have 3 teachers who are joining our faculty this year who have been at Heron and are choosing to come join here at Riverside. Either they were at Heron several years ago, or Miss Molly Ernest is an art teacher at Heron, and she really is at a point in her career where she's excited to build the art program here at Riverside. So she'll be the AP art teacher, Savano, here at Riverside, and is super excited to be the art teacher here. All right, let's do like 3 more questions as they keep coming up. May asked, how can we do band through Zoom? And you know what, May? The band teachers have been hustling all summer trying to figure out, every band teacher in the country has been trying to figure out the best way to do band and choir via Zoom. And there are some very creative ideas about, basically you might get a lot of one-on-one or really small group playing instruction. There might be some rehearsals that can be had via Zoom. There is some technology that allows for it to not lag too much. But then also a lot of music theory instruction and some of the instruction that will help really make students be able to accelerate faster once they get back into in-person instruction.
Question about iStep from Isaiah. So Isaiah, seniors who need to still retake and pass iStep will do that as of this point still either in late November or early December. And then updates to follow if health data changes that. Juniors who are up for iStep will do that in February.
And there's a question about SAT prep class for seniors. Right now, we are matching seniors with free online SAT prep classes, especially Khan Academy, that can utilize your students' most recent PSAT scores and then provide customized online SAT prep. And for our seniors, I know Mr. Koshin has been matching seniors with those classes, and there'll be a lot more information about that also in 2 weeks at the senior meeting as well. All right. I'm thinking we've gotten through most of these. Families.
There's a question, just a quick answer about the shadowing. We are looking for ways for your friends to shadow even via Zoom, but we haven't figured that all out yet, but that we're hopeful that we can do that.
Yep. And I think I just want to end with a note of encouragement that your teachers and the staff at Riverside are very committed to this being an incredible year despite the circumstances. If you are a senior who is on, and I've seen a lot of you, we are just heartbroken that this is how our founding class is starting their senior year. But it means we just have to work that much harder to make sure it is still one that is really significant, memorable, and honors the hard work that we know our founding class has done to help us build the school. So it certainly will be memorable. But for us at Riverside, this feels like an opportunity for us to step up and do right by our students and our families, and hope to really make this a very positive experience where students can still learn content in deep ways, but also build really important connections and meaningful connections with their classmates and their teachers. I think that's it for tonight. please email. You know that you can reach all of us via the website. You can find us and just connect with each of us. And also the email format for all of our names is just the first initial last name at riversidehighschool.org, or you can email info@riversidehighschool.org, and that we'll funnel it to whoever can answer that question for you. We miss you. We certainly love all of you, students and families. We're so thankful for you, and we can't wait to start the year, even if it is virtual. I think everyone should unmute and do a big see you and hi, and everyone can say hi. Actually, can we get a big go Argonauts really loud? I'll count us off. So if everyone can unmute, this will be awkward and there'll be a lot of lag. Let's do it. It'll be preserved for all posterity in our recording. All right, are we ready?
Ready.
All right, so in 3, we're gonna do go Argonauts. 2, 1. Go Argonauts! So good to see you all. Enjoy your evening. Say hi to everyone else in your households. Miss you and love you all. See ya.
Bye, Miss
Dorsey. Bye. Bye.
Bye, Mr. Harper. Bye, Mr. Not So Cringy.
Yeah. Bye, Argonauts.
Bye.
See you.
Bye, Miss Butler.
Bye.
It's gonna make me cry.
Oh, bye, Mr. Johnson.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. I'm gonna end it for everyone now. It'll be on the website by tomorrow.
Awesome. Thanks.
Bye.